All right, you're ready. Go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board Work Session for Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. The first item that we have on our work session agenda this evening is the discussion of Rockledge Farm. Jill, do you want to open us up, get us started?
Not me. I'm thinking Sabrina.
Okay.
Or we'll turn it right over to the Wachtels.
I can introduce them if you want.
Great.
So you have before you tonight Rockledge Farm. They are before you for consideration of the special use permit to operate a farm. You have a staff memo that was sent to you which summarized their application and kind of the thoughts behind some of your decision making. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jerry Barrett, who is the consultant working for the Wachtels, who are also here tonight to talk about their project. So, Jerry, to you.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Jerry Barrett. I'm the landscape architect for the project. I'm here with the owners, Annie Zabar and Bill Wachtel, Madeline Wachtel, and Leo Lannis is the farm manager. I will start by trying to share my screen and see if it works. Did that work?
Yeah, you're good. We see it.
Okay. So without further ado, so what we're looking at here is Rockledge Farm, and what we have is Whippoorwill Road running in a north-south direction right in here, and what we call Rockledge Farm West is in this area over here. This is the area where the Zabar Wachtel residence is, where they have another building in this area here. And this is about 14 or 15 acres. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's a sizable parcel. Across the street is the former Twin Oaks Swim and Tennis Court Club. And that is in this area here. This will actually become the main hub of the farm where the growing of the vegetables and everything will take place. In this area, the more passive uses will take place. This is what we refer to as Rockledge Farm East. The more passive uses of growing of lavender and orchard of trees and that kind of thing will be happening on Rockledge Farm West. I'm going to go right to the master plan because I think it's more descriptive. So here we have the master plan. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to show you in the upper left-hand corner, this is Rockledge Farm East. This is there's one parcel here. It does have a guest house on it. It does have a farm. There's like a garage with on top of it. That's the office for Rockledge Farm. The administration is run out of here. The residences are here. We're going to be proposing lavender production fields in this area here. Right now, it's just mowed lawn. There's going to be orchards in this area. There's an orchard here now, and it's just going to be expanded and upgraded. There's some beehives in this area that are proposed. There is a pool. There's a main residence. This is the guest house area here. There is a tennis court here now. There are some greenhouses here now. And when you get over to the former Twin Oaks Swim and Tennis Club in this area, the same access road is going to remain in place. It's there right now. It's drivable. It's very serviceable. And when you get in here, this was the hub, if you will, of the former Swim and Tennis Club. This you could see very lightly. That was the pool. And then in this area here, right here, this was the clubhouse, which had a lot of showers and that type of thing in it. That is proposed to become the caretaker's residence. There was the snack bar. That's this area here. And that is proposed to become the farm kitchen. There's a septic system right here that Michael Campbell Engineering is working on for a septic reuse permit to continue to service the former cabana, now caretaker's residence, and the kitchen, because it had so many showers and that kind of thing. Michael Campbell says it's way oversized, and he sees no problem with processing this and getting a septic reuse permit from the health department. There is ample parking on site. In fact, we don't even need all the parking that was here because tennis club was a rather large club. These were the former tennis court areas. I think these were double tennis courts, and these have now been converted to growing plots. And what's happened is they've taken the clay tennis courts and they've cut into it, and they've created all of these plots where they grow all of their vegetables. It's fenced in. It really works out really well. It's got a lot of sunlight. This would be a poly hoop house that would be something that they could continue to do work in the wintertime. And when you see these keys on here, and we've keyed the whole legend, this is the existing conditions key that, everything you see in yellow is already there. Everything you see in blue is things that are going to be added on. And some of those things include that, this pool is now gone. They had a demo permit. They took that pool out. They will be adding a barn in this area that would be for the animals, to put the animals in to keep feed and hay safe. They also have an area in here where they have refrigerated storage, so they can take their produce and keep it in this area before they take it to market. This is going to be a compost area where they take the compost from the farm and they reuse it, and they reuse it as fertilizer. This is the chicken coop area here. This was a double tennis court area that's been converted into a chicken coop. It's already fenced. It already has a net over the top of it, so it's safe from predators. The coops are in this area here. We do note that, there is a 250-foot guideline that the town board needs to consider for the location of animal pens, and we've been very careful to make sure we keep all of those animal pens inside that 250-foot line. We do note that this portion does extend outside of that. We're going to go to another plan in a bit, and this is a very secluded part of the property. It's all wooded. This is a rugged, hilly property, and it's you can see in the aerial photograph this area here. That's right in here, so you can see that it's really isolated from any adjacent neighbors, and we're going to get to another map that shows that. And then we have the animal pens for the sheep and the goats and the llamas. We put on the plan how many there are. It's a modest herd. It's not very big. It's not going to get any bigger, but we've worked with the building department and Sabrina's office, and we've referred to the Cornell Extension Service to get some guidelines on the sizing of these things. And we think we have everything sized adequately, that we can support all of the animals here in a safe way and a free range type of way, and they're all generous. So that's kind of, it gives you an overview of the farm operation. Again, this was the existing conditions plan. This just shows you what's here now: the tennis courts, which is now the chicken coop, the former pool, the former cabana is going to become the caretaker's residence. The snack bar becomes the farm kitchen. If we look at the aerial map to see what's going on here, you can see that the club was really isolated. It was really tucked in here. You have the Alfredo nursery operation in this area, very rugged, steep slopes up here, slopes back down here. You really can't see any residences. You really can't see any other residents. Once you get into this area, you can't see anything. This is the Wildcat Road access. There's a water main that goes from Whippoorwill Road out to Armonk Road here, and it runs through a very rugged piece of terrain here. There's fire hydrants in here, so we're covered with fire protection. If there's ever a fire, there's a fire hydrant here, there's a fire hydrant here. When discussions with the building inspector, he was a little concerned with the chicken pen going over. Again, we have a little corner that we're clipping that goes outside that 250-foot, and he requested that we give him some information on how far are you away from the neighbors. And you could see 900 feet, 1,000 feet, 700 feet, 1,200 feet. So it's really isolated. I don't think anyone could ever see this nor hear it. We provided some photographs of what's out there now, and they're key to the thing. But this was the this area here. This was the former administration building here, which is now It's right by the thing. It's right there's the bathroom in here. This is where the employees could use the bathroom. There's a septic system here. This is the this was the former cabana, which is going to be converted to the to the caretaker's residence. These are the storage trailers. You can see the air conditioning units in here. That's right in this area here. That's the refrigerated where they take care of the produce. This was the former snack bar, which will be converted into the kitchen. This is looking into this area here, which is the second parcel on Rockledge Farm West. And that's where the admin building is. It's in this area here. And that's where the admin building is right in on top of here. Access along the road, it's a paved access, perfectly serviceable, as you can see. So, I mean, that's kind of an overview of what's happening. Again, these are the proposed uses. We have a sugar house, which is going to be, I think this is the compost. This is the compost area. The sugar house is going to be in here where they'll tap the maple trees. And in the sugar house is really going to be another one of the, it's going to be one of the containers. It's going to be, you know, what that photograph that we showed earlier of the refrigerated storage. It's just going to be one of those, very simple. And that's where the maple syrup will be made. The compost is in this area. So we've designed this to try to not take down any trees, to not disturb the soils. We're trying to get this so we can just operate the farm, so it can go forward. And if there is expansion that has to be done on the farm, then we'll come back to the town board. I know there was a comment in the staff memo about public access, and public access is not something that's really anticipated to happen anytime soon, but when and if they get up and running, the only public access would be if any local food producers wanted to come and rent out the kitchen, and that would be by appointment only. That's really not anticipated to come online anytime soon, but we put it in there because, you know, we were requested that we have that in there. Other than that, there would be no public access coming in here. You know, they would make their deliveries. They would keep their delivery vans in this area. They would go out 3 times a week. They'd come back. They go to farmers markets on weekends. So, you know, we're at the point now that we'd like some feedback from the town board and how we can move this forward so we can get this special use permit put in place so the farm can continue to operate.
Can you clarify what was what is in the area where the animal pens are going to be?
Sure. I'm going to try to blow up a little bit. Okay, so the animal pens, we have a sheep pen. Number 1 is, just trying to move the cursor. Come on. There we go. Okay, so we have a sheep pen in this area. We did note that the town's environmental coordinator made a comment was, you know, does this have to be within the 150-foot wetland buffer? I think, and I'd have to check, and maybe Sabrina knows, but I think the grazing of animals is allowed in wetland buffers, but I'd have to check on that. But we could also move it over here. So it doesn't have to be here. We could always move it over to here. We have a goat.
Jerry, it is allowed. It is allowed within a wetland buffer, but the preference would be to relocate that outside of the wetland buffer.
I don't see that as a problem because we have this area available right here that we could go to.
And what is there now? Is that just grass?
It's just grass. We have another goat pen in this area. It's about 1 acre, a little over. We have the llama pen in this area. We have the chicken coop area in here.
Right. So the what is it, R3 and R4? I can't see what letter that is. Apologies. Is that field now? What is that? area where the llamas?
Well, right now it's wooded. It's wooded with a light understory.
Okay, that's what I was
And,
trying to get a handle on was what areas were planned to be cleared of trees.
Okay, well, there are. And so if you, this dark green color you see, this is wooded. When you see this lighter color, this means it's open. It's kind of meadow. It's really not mowed lawn. It's kind of like meadow type thing. So there, there's no, there are no plans to cut down trees. It's felt that the animals can, safely roam in these areas. I think in the summertime it would be cool for them because they'd be out of the sun. And this would be the barn area here, where they're located. So in the the colder times, that they can house the animals in here on the first floor and put the hay storage and the feed on the upper floor. This is really where the animals would be. These are beekeeping areas here, which kind of like we don't really think of those as animal pens, although we noted in the staff memo that that may be construed, and if so, we may have to seek a variance for that. And if that's what we need to do, that's what we'll do.
And Terry, why do you consider that they're not animal pens?
Well, I don't know. I never really considered, the bees as part of a herd animal group.
And is the bees the only one that the staff is speaking to with respect to the livestock pens?
Well, there's another one over here, Nick, right here. So we have another one over here. This is an open field, and it would be a suitable place for more beehives.
No, understood. My question was, are there any other animal pens that are closer than that are proposed within the 250 feet?
Now we have another animal pen that we're showing here. This would be kind of like a nursery, like if an animal was or needed special care, it would be across the street. It would be across the parking lot from the main house, and so they can take care of it. But no, the animal pens would really just be focused here. That red line that you see going on here, that's the 250-foot setback, and we tried to keep everything inside of that. The reason why we weren't in this area outside of the buffer, as Sabrina pointed out, they'd prefer that this sheep pen be over here, but the problem with that is it's outside of this 250-foot line. So that's why we have it where it is. But we're happy to move it the other way, but I think it's going to require a variance.
Thank you.
I have a more practical question. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Lisa.
Can you talk a little bit to what the tax implications of this are?
That was my question, Lisa.
Think alike.
You know what? I don't think I can, but I don't know if Madeline or Bill or Annie have anything to add on that point.
Well, I don't know if Bill or Annie are tax experts. I don't know who Madeline is, but I think the town would like to understand that. Does that mean that their home no longer is paying taxes? Like, I don't know how that works. I'm just curious.
I can briefly describe. No, the answer is that it has no impact on a home. It only affects the land that's actually being used for farming purposes. So you literally go through the map and identify what's being used for farm purposes and what's being used for residential purposes.
So would it involve redefining the lot around your home as farmland rather than residential property?
I don't think it's a redefinition process. I think it's a calculation that's done by the tax assessor.
I think we need to ask Josh. Right. I think we need to ask Josh that question, Josh Herman, because that's a good question. And to further what Lisa was saying, if I have no idea what the property is taxed at now, and it's more than just our individual homes, but there's a significant portion of the property that is going to be used as a farm, but it's not really a public farm. It's your private farm that has other values. And then I'm curious how much, by making this an organic farm at the old Twin Oaks, what does that add to the tax roll, if anything? How does that impact it? Does it increase the value?
So if I could clarify just a little bit, I mean, I do think Josh is the best person to answer this, but, typically a property is taxed on both the buildings and the land. So the portion of the land that is farmed and produces value, meaning economics. You know, if they sell eggs or produce from the farm or meat from the farm, that is something that they can apply to New York State for tax relief. I don't think that it affects local taxes unless they start showing economic returns from the farming operation.
Gotcha. The other question I had, if you can just clarify, you mentioned the kitchen to be used potentially for people to use by appointment. What do you potentially envision that to be? What does that mean? I saw classes, local restaurants. Are we talking about, 20 people coming, 30 people coming, or just a handful? What do you envision that to be?
Sure. So someone explained to us, interestingly, that, for example, if you grow rhubarb in your backyard and you want to sell it as a rhubarb jam at the farmer's market, if you do it in your kitchen, you can't sell it. And that there is a need, therefore, for, I guess, in essence, it's probably an FDA approved facility. So
Like the Department of Health, I would think.
Department of Health. So when that was mentioned to us by somebody who's very much involved with farmers markets, we said, okay, well, maybe that's something we can do if it really serves the needs of other people who are doing farming activity in the community. So it would be a one-by-one kind of thing. And very candidly, I think it's a long way in the offing. And I was surprised that there was such a need. But if there is and we can help people out, we're happy to try.
Do you ever envision it being something more of a location where you have kids coming for educational purposes or events of any size?
I wouldn't say we envision it, but I think in fairness, we're doing this to, in some measure, be good citizens. So if, for example, the school ever approached us and said, would you consider? I mean, I'm sure we consider it. If that means that we'd have to come back to the town board for a special approval, we'll do it. But that's certainly not our game plan today. We're trying to start on a very simple basis.
And what about private parties and things like that? Like weddings, things like that?
Right now, we have no plans for that.
And so just to give an example, the town board would issue a special permit. And, if the Wachtel said that they wanted to have, up to 2 events per year, on-farm events per year, you would include that as a parameter in the special permit, and around that would be 2 events of X number of people during X number of hours, and it would be spelled out. They have indicated that they want to have general public to the site. They have talked about vans coming in and out, going to farmers markets on certain times, during certain times of the week. The whole idea about the kitchen, if they're interested in renting out the kitchen, if the town board wanted to consider that now, we would need more information from the Wachtels as to what does that look like. Is it renting out the kitchen, 2 out of 4 weekends a month in the afternoon or the mornings only, or afternoon and morning? We would need more parameters from them as to what that looked like so you could build it into your special permit. If it's not within the special permit, then it's not allowed on site. So we have asked and worked with the applicant to make sure that they have provided to us documentation on everything that they wanted on the site to date. They will be required, in accordance with the town code, to come back to you every 5 years to renew that special permit, and they are allowed to at any time to come back and amend the special permit to add new things. But at this first juncture, the special permit would outline what is intended to go on the site in the near future, unless they have things mapped out into the future that they can share with you.
Sabrina, just sort of picking up on that for a second. can we just kind of take a step back for a moment? And can you, Sabrina, give us an overview of the work that the town has done with them so far, and sort of where we are and the potential next steps?
So I'm actually going to defer to Tom DePole, who's on the line. I have been one of all of the professional staff who've been meeting with the applicant. This really started with Tom. And so, Tom, if I can defer to you.
Good evening, all. It's nice to be here. Yes, from the early on, I met with Leo on site, and we had a tour of the site, and he showed me all the areas in question where they proposed to do the chicken pens, where the buildings and the original pools were to be demolished as part of a separate building permit application. And we've met with staff, Dennis Corelli, the town environmental coordinator, Bob Cioli, the town engineer, in regards to stormwater, wetlands, trees. We've put a lot of time into this with Jerry Barrett, trying to ascertain the best plan and use. Initially, Jerry came to us with a full-blown plan of all their wish lists, if you will. And from there, we've scaled it back many times to make something that was doable, that would not be so evasive to the land. So this was a work in progress over probably a good year, maybe a little bit, year and a half, that we've polished all the aspects.
And so what I'm sorry, I read your memo, but I'm just struggling to understand. We're getting a briefing and an overview tonight, but then where do we go from here, Sabrina? You've outlined in your memo a series of next steps that need to be taken by the applicant in order to move forward.
So typically when dealing with a special permit, you'll receive a memo as you've received, which identifies additional things that the applicant should furnish. Mm-hmm. There's discussions over sight lines and development coverage. There's a range of things that staff have asked for to clarify the application. And this will enable us to create a special permit for the town board to consider adopting. What will happen is the applicant will be responsive to the staff memos, and the town board will look to set a public hearing on the application, which will give the opportunity for the public. It'll be noticed. The public will have an opportunity to comment on the application, and then you'll determine whether or not you want to support the special use permit. In an example where a variance is needed for a setback distance that is within the 250 feet, in your resolution for the project or a recommendation to the ZBA, you would do a positive or negative recommendation. So the ZBA had information to carry through with the action. You could either do that prior to making a decision as a board, or you can do it as a condition of your approval. Everything that goes into this application, all of the information submitted by the applicants, as well as conditions that you may want to formulate. And some of those conditions will come from questions and information staff are asking for. For example, development coverage. The applicants are going to provide us with a development coverage of how much impervious surface is on the site right now. We're going to limit that coverage to their site plan. If there's additional impervious coverage beyond what is normally expected of, let's say, building coverage 10%, development coverage 15%, they would then have to comply with that. If there was an instance where they wanted to exceed the amount that the town board has allowed through the special permit, they would have to come back to amend their special use permit. But the town board is giving them the ability to operate a farm in a residentially zoned neighborhood on the location that was formerly known as the Twin Oaks Swim Club. It is a use that is allowed by a special permit, which requires the agency who will be issuing the special permit to hold a public hearing. And we'll have to do a secret analysis on this as well.
And if I could expand upon that, one of the things to note, there's a criteria. So that town board in this case is acting as a quasi-administrative board, similar to the planning or the zoning board. It's not acting as a legislative body where you have absolute discretion with respect to a rezoning petition where you can say yay or nay. In this case, there are standards that need to be applied, and there are two sets of standards set forth in the town zoning code. It's section 60-430 for special uses. There's general requirements for special use permits. There's 5 of them, and I'll provide the board with a memo so you can see these. But you know, the location, nature, and height of the buildings, the walls and fences, and the nature and extent of existing or proposed plantings will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. There's a lot of general criteria they need to satisfy. And then there's in section 60-430, 10, I believe it is, 10, there's specific requirements for a farm that needs to be satisfied. And the staff review memorandum of January 7th goes through each of those criteria. And then it's up to the town board to make a determination as to has this application satisfied and mitigated any conditions or concerns that's being expressed during a public hearing or by the town board to your satisfaction for both the general requirements and the specific requirements.
And so if all of the general and specific requirements then are met, then the town board you're suggesting is not making a go, no go decision on this. If all the criteria is met, it is a go.
That's correct. They're not asking for a zone change. The legislative body has determined that this is an appropriate use in the district, assuming they can satisfy the special and the specific special permit requirements. And there's a lot of, you have discretion. I don't want to say it's check the boxes because a lot of this is subjective. They'll submit reports, you'll ask questions. So it's not just check the boxes. There is ability for the town board to make sure that they're satisfied that all the conditions have been satisfied. And where we are in the stage right now is just at the preliminary stages. Staff has issued its initial review comment memorandum. Town board may have comments. So you're not at the point where you would schedule, in my opinion, schedule a public hearing. You would want the applicant to respond to the staff comment memorandum, maybe meet internally with the staff again before it comes back to you so that you get a more complete application. I think the purpose of this initial presentation during the work session is to allow the applicant to provide you with an overview and also for the board to ask questions that the applicant may not have answered or which staff has not answered or which you want to see elaborated upon.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So Nick, I just might be being obtuse. I don't understand how we don't need a zoning change if it's a commercial farm in the middle of a residential area.
Because
it is allowed.
I just don't understand. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, Lisa, what I'm going to tell you is that in the zoning code right now, depending on the size of properties and the zoning districts they currently reside in, there are special permit provisions which allow consideration of raising of animals, of growing of crops. This sits in an R2A zone and is a size that is indicative of consideration of a special use permit for this type of operation. So you have a whole section of the zoning code where certain areas of the town, certain zoning districts can obtain certain uses if they meet certain criteria. This is one of them. It does not require a zoning change because it is an allowable use through the issuance of a special permit by the town board. There are special permits very much like a cell tower that are issued by the planning board. There's other special permits like Sunshine Children's Hospital Home that is issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is the same type of application. It is a special permit that is specifically issued by the town board.
Got it. And then I think you mentioned that the applicant has to do a SECRA analysis. So
right now, go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say,
then the question
every application that comes before the board requires an evaluation of the potential environmental impact. So you have to do the SECRA analysis. They've submitted an environmental assessment form. So the first thing to do is to see if they provided all the criteria. and then you would make a determination of significance. So what I'm going to suggest is that my office will work with Sabrina, and we'll provide you with a memo that goes through what are the zoning and the legislative criteria before you, and also sort of outline and map out the process and how that interacts with the secret process.
I can tell you that my memorandum, the memorandum that staff put together, goes through the criteria that is in the code for this special permit. Okay, so you have all of the criteria. What you don't have is an outline of the process, which, you know, I think, Nick, that's a great suggestion that we put together kind of that outline of the process. One of the things that staff has asked for is more information regarding manure handling and composting. So that will help us to determine how this comports with an environmental impact examination.
And Sabrina, just expanding on that comment, if this property does get zoned as a farm, do they have the ability to increase the livestock? In which case, you know, back to the comment.
Not beyond what you allow through the special use permit.
Okay.
You're setting that threshold.
Got it.
And do we need, like, do we do like we've done with other SECRA issues, like a scoping document where neighbors come in and say what their concerns might be, and we don't have to do that?
Well,
go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, the first step is to make a determination of significance. Only if you issue what's called a positive declaration, finding that there is at least the potential for one potential significant adverse environmental impact, would you go through the scoping session and prepare an environmental impact statement. And I don't know, I haven't discussed this with Sabrina, I haven't fully looked at it, whether this project rises to that, or whether based upon the environmental assessment form they provided, there is sufficient information that you can make that determination of significance.
Right. Okay. I'm curious, what are the llamas? What do you do with llamas?
Leo, can you answer that, please?
The sole purpose of the llamas are protectors. There are 2 llamas, 6 sheep, 8 goats, and the llamas are there to protect from coyotes and the like. And they're really quite amazing animals, because as you approach as a human being, they'll actually snarl at you until they get to know you.
You have llamas today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
And I don't know if this is beyond the scope, but is it something, Nick, that we can include as part of this, as we've sort of discussed and mentioned briefly, that the convergent to make this a more of a usable farm than the old Twin Oaks, which was fun back in the day, that there be a mandatory educational component, which seems, I use the term weird, because how can I say to someone, this is your private property, you have to have an educational component? But as the applicant said, it's something they potentially consider. But it seems that on its face, this could be a great thing for the community. You have a farm here that is not anywhere nearby, and kids from the elementary school could see this working farm in some capacity. So is there something, for example, that could be part of this process where we require that if we were so inclined, or does that infringe on too many private property rights, even if assuming we wanted to?
Right, I'd have to go and give it some more thought and look at the considerations to see if that's something that could be required. I certainly think it's appropriate to request the applicant if that's something they're interested in, and for them to consider it. As far as requiring it, Jeremy, I'd have to get back to you.
Yeah, and I don't want to be so. I wouldn't want to step over. Well, I wanted to say one thing. I'm not looking to step on someone's private property rights. So you have to have an educational component. That's not looking to do that. I'm just curious, because I think that would be such a critical piece to this, and of such tremendous value to the community. That educational, piece.
So what I'm going to say is, setting aside educational opportunities, because there's several different levels of that. Depending on the type of educational opportunity, it may increase site traffic. It may require more parking. There are impacts to bringing public to the site, which right now there's no public coming to the site, right? It's only, it's internal business. and business leaving the site and coming back into the site. There is no general public coming to the site. When you start introducing a general public aspect, it raises the impacts that you need to consider as a board. And we've had many conversations with the applicants as to what they're looking at doing. And it will take much more input to put a public component into this project right now. And again, it's not our decision as town. It's really the applicant's decision if that's what they want to focus on.
I think it is fair to say that as an aspirational goal, we very much embrace that notion. In fact, we bought this property to begin with so that it could be used by the school system as an athletic training center. And after 3 years, failed in our efforts to actually give it to the school. So we very much believe in trying to make it a part of the community, but taking guidance from Sabrina, we're trying to approach this now as sort of the barest level of use. And then as it evolves, we would then come back, and the school approached us, we'd work with them and come back to the town and say, we'd like to do it, they'd like to do it, can we do it?
So it seems like perhaps you have some learning to do yourselves before you're ready to teach anyone.
That's right.
I'm satisfied. I have no additional questions at this time. I found the memo very helpful, and the outline of the next steps that need to be taken all makes sense to me. So I appreciate this presentation. It was really very helpful and very well put together. So thank you.
Well, let us say on behalf that the staff has been extraordinarily helpful, incredibly insightful, and if we can get this to work, great. We certainly appreciate all the effort.
Thanks.
Thanks so
Anybody
much.
else?
So then what I would like to do is just encourage the applicant to be responsive to the staff request for information. At the same time, I'll work with legal counsel to make sure you have proper guidance for the next time that it's before you. And hopefully we could get to make a secret determination and get to public hearing to kind of put this one in the books.
And Sabrina, just because I don't want to have to waste Annie or Bill's time at all and have them have to come back again, since this is the first time the town board is actually seeing this, I would give all the town board members a little time to see if there's anything else not in the staff's memo that we wanted them to, get some information on, just so it doesn't prolong the process.
So then what I would ask, if there's any thoughts that any of you have beyond tonight, if you can either send me an email so that we can compile the town board thoughts, and we can work with the applicant to make sure that the next time they come before you, they have all of the information that you need in order to set a public hearing and move them forward. So happy to coordinate that for you.
I mean, the only question that, sort of came up this evening that I'm really interested to learn more about, Sabrina, is probably not one that's for the applicant. It's really, the conversation that I'd like us to have with Josh so that he can walk us through the sort of tax implications here.
Yeah, no, that is definitely not, that's something that Josh can discuss with you. And if it's appropriate, at the next time that the applicant submits their follow-up information, and this is on your agenda, we can invite Josh to come in and talk to you, or you can schedule him at another meeting to talk to you about how the taxation works.
Sure. That would be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Again, thank you for your time and for the preparation that you did for this meeting. The presentation was really fantastic, so thank you. I appreciate
Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Very much.
Fun to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a good night.
Sabrina.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Bye, Tom. Thanks. Bye, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Take care, all. Nice seeing everyone.
Bye, Jerry.
Okay, the next topic on our agenda is the request for a revised resolution for Enough in the Holocaust Human Rights Committee for their first annual essay and art poetry contest. So if the board recalls, we had agreed earlier in the year to be a 50% sponsor for the first annual art and essay and art poetry contest. It was the high school students' intention to raise 50% of the prize money through functions at the school, and then COVID hit. And so although they were successful in raising some of the money, they never got to their 50% mark. But the contest did go off without a hitch, very successful. Monies were awarded for prizes in 4 categories. And so they are asking us for a revised resolution to make up the difference. So it's the difference between $350, which we were going to pay originally, and $445. So I'm going to ask you for a revised resolution to just make up the differential there. A very long explanation for a little bit of money, and I'm sorry, but it's for government, it's the way we do things. The next thing on the work session agenda is authorization to settle 2 tax certiorari proceedings, the matter of 235 SMR LLC and Birchwood Swim and Tennis Club. Okay. And last but not least are the administrative items, just payment of claims, adoption of minutes, and the monthly reports. Any questions on any of those? Okay, great. Well, then we're ready to move into our town board meeting. How are we doing time-wise? Oh, smidgen over, not too bad.
Move to adjourn the work session and then second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I move to go into town board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the town board meeting for Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. I will hold my supervisor's report and include it in the town's e-newsletter when it goes out tomorrow. Jill, do you have a town administrator's report?
The only thing I just wanted to mention is that the 2020-2021 tax school bills are due without penalty on Monday, February 1st. That's because the 31st falls on a weekend, and so the law gives you a 1-day grace period. Tax bills can be placed in the drop box at Town Hall on the first floor right next to the police station. They can also be made through our online payment system. And obviously they can be mailed. If they're going to be mailed, please make sure that you see the U.S. Postal Service actually affix a postmark to the letter. We take the postmark as evidence of timely mailing. Our tax offices have traditionally been open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the last day of tax collection. And that's going to be true on the 1st as well. But the residents should just keep in mind that Town Hall is like really close to the public, and we're only open by appointments, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And that's even going to be the case on the 1st. So even though the tax office is there and we're going to have staff upstairs, we will be collecting out of that box until 7 o'clock at night, but you're not going to be able to walk into the office the way you traditionally have and had your tax bill stamped. So people should just keep that in mind, okay? And try not to wait till the last minute. It'll be less stress for everybody. And that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Did any of the other town board members have any announcements that they wanted to make? Okay. All right, moving right along. The next thing on our town board agenda for this evening is public comment, new business. If we have anyone who is here this evening who would like to make a comment, you can feel free to raise your digital hand.
No one's raised their hand yet.
Okay. I'll also check in with Christina Papes, our town clerk, to see whether we received any public comments in advance of the meeting. You're on mute, Christina. Do you want to give a
Sorry. No, I unmuted it on my end. Maybe there's a delay. I'm saying no comments.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, then we can go ahead and move forward. Sorry, I'm flipping between screens. With go ahead and reading our resolutions for this evening.
All right. I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $471,247.98. Listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detail voucher detail report, all dated January 11th, 2021. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, January 13th of this glorious year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I move to adopt the January 5th, 2021 organizational meeting and work session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to adopt the following monthly reports for December 2020: Town Clerk, Court Clerk, Development Department, and Receiver of Taxes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the posting and hiring of the position of General Foreman within the Department of Public Works.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the hiring of Catherine Clow to the position of Recreation Attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department to serve as a driver for seniors at the hourly rate of $16 per hour effective January 19th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the reappointment of the following individuals to the Airport Advisory Committee for a 2-year term effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. David Wolf, Tara Casal, Jordan Finkler, Eric Nicolason, Robert Fleischer, Kenneth Silverman, and John Yanofsky.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the appointment of Tom Curley and Dick Goldsmith to the Airport Advisory Committee for a 2-year term effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lisa, you want to go?
Sure, I do. Okay, whereas there are presently pending before the New York State Supreme Court a series of tax certiorari proceedings as set forth in the attached resolution, and these have been proposed for settlement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board authorizes the settlement of these proceedings to adjust the contested 2015 through 2020 assessments of the 235 SMR parcel as set forth in the resolution. And be it further resolved that the council for the town of Newcastle, Keenan Bean, together with town administration, is hereby authorized to undertake such actions as necessary to effectuate the settlement, including the execution and submission of a consent judgment to the court for purposes of entry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And whereas there is another tax certiorari proceeding in court, which has been offered for settlement. So now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the settlement of these proceedings to adjust the contested 2015 through 2020 assessments of the Birchwood Swim and Tennis parcel as set forth in the resolution. Be it further resolved that council for the town of Newcastle, Keenan Bean, together with town administration, is hereby authorized to undertake such actions as are necessary to effectuate this settlement, including the execution and submission of a consent judgment to the court for purposes of entry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Laura, you want to bring us home?
Sure. I move to adopt the following resolution. Whereas the Newcastle Holocaust and Human Rights Committee is launching its first annual art and poetry contest in commemoration of Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, and whereas the contest is open to all middle school and high school students, grades 5 through 12, who live or attend school in Chappaqua Central School District, and whereas contest entries shall include poetry, sculpture, drawing, photograph, painting, or poster submissions about why it is important to remember the Holocaust, and whereas the town wishes to be co-sponsor of the contest and contribute $445 toward the prize money for the winners, be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the town's co-sponsorship for the Newcastle Holocaust and Human Rights Committee first annual art and poetry contest.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We actually have 2 more. Christina, were you gonna?
We have the.
Yes, I
There's
had,
one here.
I sent,
I have it.
you have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. You tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I was talking about the crossing guard?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had that, okay.
Yeah. I
And
moved
then
to
there should be
authorize-
settlement.
Yeah, I move to authorize the hiring of Drew McFadden to the position of crossing guard within the police department at the hourly rate of $21 per hour effective January 13th, 2021.
All in favor?
That's the last
Aye.
one I have.
Aye.
Christina, the settlement of the matter that we discussed in executive session. It was number 1 on the proposed actions.
If not, can Nick win?
Tiffany, do you have the settlement
Exactly. So
resolution?
the board has seen a copy of this resolution and is familiar with it. I'll summarize it. Regards the settlement of the pending litigation regarding a single-family house located at 9 Gray Rock Park Road, sets forth the relevant whereases describing the action and states that now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to New York Town Law Section 68, the town board hereby approves the proposed stipulation and settlement and authorizes the town administrator to execute same, and be it further resolved that the town attorney and assessor are authorized to take such steps as may be necessary to recover the costs and expenses incurred by the town in connection with the proceeding by assessing the property upon which the house is located, and if such costs and expenses are not paid at or prior to the levy of the next succeeding town tax, same shall be extended by the town supervisor against such property in addition to the town tax to be levied thereon.
I so move.
Second, you did a great job, by the way, Nick. Great job. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I think now we're done. Right,
I
that's
move
it.
to adjourn.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Can I get a second?
I was gonna say.
All in favor?